Shalom, here we are for chapters 16 and 17 vocabulary for Mounce's Basics of Biblical Greek. And that's the fourth edition we're looking at. And we're going to do chapter 16 first, then chapter 17. We're introducing verbs now. And so I will talk a little bit about that here for our first entry, which is akuo. Akuo. Maybe you recognize the aku. It sounds like acoustic guitar or acoustics. It's indeed where we get the word acoustic. It's I hear, I learn, obey, or even understand. Akuo. And remember that in our lexicon form here, the entry, the form of the lexicon entry is the first person singular form of the verb. So akuo means I hear, I learn, etc. And then we're going to see with verb forms these kinds of alternative forms of the same verb. And as we go through, we will learn each one. But these are called tense forms, and they help extend this basic root, aku, through all the different tense forms in the Greek language. And as we go through, we will be introduced to these. But in terms of chapter 16 and 17, we're dealing only with the form found as the entry. We should call that the lexical form. Akuo, it's the present tense form. So akuo. Next is blepo. Blepo. It means I see or I am looking at. Blepo. And you can see here's the other list of other tense forms. Whenever Mounce has a dash, it means that particular, in the template of tense forms, it's unattested in the Greek New Testament. But again, blepo is what we're dealing with chapters 16 and 17. I see, I look at, just the present tense form. Next is echo. Echo. It means I have, I hold. The root is sech. Sech. But we don't see the sigma of the root in the lexical form or in the present tense form. Echo, it sounds kind of like echo, 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 but it's a chi, echo. I have, I hold. Next is Lego. Lego, just like the little building bricks that kids play with. Lego. I am saying, I speak. Now we're going to see as we progress in Greek that the verb lego, the whole paradigm, is actually fleshed out with three different roots. But in the present tense stem, it is leg is the root. So lego, I am speaking, I am saying. Next is luo. Luo, I loose, I untie, or even in some contexts, I destroy. So there's several verbs. Now we go to a noun. Maybe you know nomos. Nomos. It's you can see with the ha here, it's a second declension noun. Nomos. Nomu would be of law. And ha is our definite article. Law or principle. Nomos is the most common translation of the Hebrew word Torah. Nomos. Next we have hapu. Hapu just simply means where. Now another verb, pisteuo. This is 241 occurrences in the New Testament. It's a very important verb. I trust, I believe, I have faith. Pisteuo, pisteuo. And notice it said pisteuo can take a direct object in either the dative or the accusative. Right? The cognate verb, it is the cognate verb of the noun pistis. Remember the noun for faith, pistis. And the adjective pistos, pistos, which is faithful. Continuing on, prosopon, prosopon. Notice it's a second declension neuter because the definite article is ta. Prosopon, it means face or appearance. Continuing on, tate, tate, it means then or thereafter. Then we have another noun here. Technically, it is an adjective, blind, but it can function as substantively as a noun. Tuflos, tufle, and tuflon, blind. Tuflos would be a blind man. Tufle, a blind woman, etc. Tuflos. And then finally, chara. Chara, it's a feminine noun in the form of hora, or we have the alpha stem, in other words. Chara means joy and delight. Joy or delight. Chara. Notice again our stats here, 138,000 individual words in the New Testament. In this chapter, with all the verbs and nouns we've learned, times their occurrences 4,500. The number of word occurrences to date, that is, if you've done all the vocab work from chapters 1 through 16, in all their appearances, it accounts for almost, we're getting close to 100,000 of the 138,000. So we're over 70% of the total word count in the New Testament. Isn't that great? Okay, I'm going to shift now. We're going to go right, because I'm doing both chapter 16 and 17 in this video. So we'll go right to, I go back. We'll go right over here to chapter 17. Our first verb here is agapao. Agapao. Now, this is a contract form, so we're going to actually see it as agapo in text. But when we, in class, when we talk about chapter 17, we'll go over the contract verbs. But agapao, maybe you know the word agape, right? Agape is a word for love. Agapao, I am loving, I cherish. Next we have daimonion. Daimonion, that's a word for demon. Notice it's a second declension neuter. Daimonion. Another verb, zeteo. Zeteo. I seek, I desire, I try to obtain. Zeteo. Next, kaleo. Kaleo. I call, I name, I invite. Kaleo. Another, laleo. Laleo. I speak, I say. Laleo. It's very similar to lego in meaning. Laleo. Next, oida. Oida. Now notice it doesn't end in an omega like these other, like laleo, kaleo, zeteo. Remember, all our verbs are first person singular. Well, oida, notice it doesn't end in an omega, and it's because it's a little bit special case. It means I know or I understand. It's actually in the perfect tense form rather than the present tense form. So there's a reason behind why we're not hearing or seeing that omega. But oida. Oida means I know, I understand. And let me just, there we go. I'll make it small enough so we can see the whole paradigm. First singular is oida. That's I know. If I want to say you know, oidas. Oidas. So we still see the sigma ending. He, she, it knows, oide, with a movable nu. We know, oidamen. Notice that the connecting vowel here is always an alpha. Oida, oidas. It shifts to an epsilon only in the third singular. Oidamen, though, is we know. Oidate, you all know. And oidasen, they know. So oida is a special case that we just need to remember separately from our normal form of the present tense form being our lexical form. Hotan means whenever. It's a combination of hate and an. It introduces a dependent clause. Hotan, like whenever. Next we have pleon and pleon. Pleon, pleon. Notice it's a 3-3 adjective. So it's third declension in both cases. The pleon with the omega is both masculine and feminine. Pleon with the omicron is neuter, means larger or more. Here's another verb, pleuroo. Pleuroo. Now, as we'll learn when we look at chapter 17, the omicron here, it's an omicron stem, so pleuroo. I am filling, I am completing, I fulfill. And we use this as a paradigm verb for omicron stems. And then poieo, I do. Notice that 568 times, way more than plerao. Plerao, 86 times. Poieo is I am doing or I make, pushing 600 occurrences here. Poieo, it's an epsilon stem. Poieo. Finally, we have teureo. Teureo. And teureo usually is a translation for the Hebrew shamar, to guard. Sometimes natsar, also to guard. Teureo. Teureo. I keep, I am guarding, I am observing. And notice that with this number of word occurrences to date now, up through chapter 17, we are really getting close to 100,000. We're at 72%. That means if you were just to start reading the Greek New Testament, 72 out of every 100 words that you would encounter, you would recognize and be able to identify. Isn't that great news? All right, so this was chapter 16 and 17 for Bill Mounce. Next video, I'll cover chapter 18. All right, shalom.